Hi guys, it's Blair here and I'm here to do my first video for this channel. I'm not really sure why I decided this was going to be my first video, but trusting the universe is part of my journey too, as well as acknowledging where I am at right now. So today I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about mothers. When I think about that, I always think of the white chicks. Let's talk about mothers. You want to talk about mothers? Yeah, today I do, because it's a very important topic, and I feel like it's definitely coming up out of the. I really do think it's a conscious thing as well, collective conscious thing. But me personally, I'm just going to talk about my experience. And today that I decided that I was going to have that really deep conversation with my mother. Albeit over the phone because she is off visiting her friends, but I needed to say the things that I need to say that I haven't been saying probably for a really long time, actually most of my teenage years into adulthood. So obviously I'm not going to go into too much detail about exactly what I said because it was a personal conversation, but I will just say this, love your mothers, and if I can give you any advice today, it would be love your mother because you are part of your mother. Whether, you have a good relationship with your daughter or not, that is my daughter. We have a twisted relationship too, whether you have a good relationship with your mother, know her or don't know her, just love her because you are part of her and she is part of you as well, which is something I really didn't think about until recently, that, as a woman, I can only speak for myself, that I am a very mothering person, and a lot of the behaviors that I have expressed, explored, and experienced being that mother energy that is inside me and will always be inside me because I acknowledge that. It has led me to do a lot of things that I like, I don't like, got me into situations that I chose to be part of, to express that part of myself, to be a very nurturing, loving, compassionate person. But it also, I also had the shadow side to that as well, controlling, domineering, sort of micromanaging, not trusting that the people in my lives knew what they were doing even though they were adults. So it definitely has a sort of a broad spectrum, and I can understand that now. But I also say love your mother too, because something I really realized today is that majority of the time, and we know this as adults too, even if we don't want to acknowledge it or not, even if I don't want to acknowledge it either, is that we are doing the best that we can do at the time. And a lot of us do this where we go, oh, I really wish I could have done that at that point in time. And we kind of wish for the past to change or the future to change as well. But we don't recognize that we are going through what we're supposed to go through. And part of this process today of talking to my mother was saying that, as we are now, I really respect you. I respect and love you deeply because I acknowledge that at that point in time in my life when I was a child, you were doing the best that you could, regardless of what you did, how you did it, how you brought me up, what I felt, what I feel now. I respect that at that point in time, you were doing what you thought was best for you, for your kids, and for everybody else involved. Of course, everybody has their own unique childhood story, and sometimes it's not as unique as you might expect because we all go through very, very similar patterns, and as we have done from generation to generation. Another thing I realized too, and I acknowledge now, is that a lot of what I experienced as a child was projection from my parents. My mother specifically, when I'm dealing with my mother, was a projection of her stuff from her mother that wasn't addressed at all. Something that I really appreciate about my mother is that I can actually talk to her about these things, and it has taken us a really long time to get to that place where I feel like I can actually say to her, I am not comfortable around you, you've hurt my feelings, I hate you right now, and not so much in a teenagey kind of backlash way. Part of it is my inner child trying to express what I never did. But I think there's a different way in which you can say it as well, because if you deny the fact that you hate somebody, even though you're feeling it in that moment or have done in the past, it's just as bad as sort of, saying it out loud, if that makes sense. So for me personally, if I hold on to that, even though I know it's real and it needs to be expressed, it's not gonna do me any favors. It's only gonna do me well for my healing here in my heart and my body and my energy and for my own mother if I tell her that. Now, I don't have to say it in a really aggressive, bitchy, narcissistic, whatever, shadowy side way. I can do that in my journal. That's what my journal's for. And I can if I really want to. Just do it when what comes up. But for me personally, my experience today was really just talking adult to adult, not child to adult, not child to child. It was meeting my mother in that place where I was an adult, she was an adult, and I wanted her to know how it really felt for me growing up and what I felt and how that affected me. Some of the things that I felt were hate. Some of the things that I felt were lack of privacy, no trust. Some things, I felt abandoned, unloved, disrespected, and I had to acknowledge that that's how she made me feel. And I had to acknowledge that so I could actually release it, which is the hardest part about this and also the easiest, which is a contradiction. Once you let go of that, it's gone. Like that it's not completely gone as in it's never going to come up, because it might come up again. But in essence, the energy that I've held on to for so long is lifting. It's the toxicity of it is lifting because I'm not suppressing it and denying it. And when it coming back to the mother is you, I see a lot of what I have done in my life expressed in what my mother did through hers. And what I've also noticed is that from addressing these things and being honest and telling her how I feel in the moment as an adult, it's actually raised her vibration in our relationship up as well. So she's not hiding things from me. We come together and we talk, and I tell her how I feel, and she tells me how she feels. And if I feel like I've crossed a boundary or she's crossed a boundary, I tell her nowadays. I don't tend to let it just sort of simmer on the surface. But I also realize that's the pain and the validation and confusion and the hatred and the need to be loved, it sifts through all my relationships. And at first I thought it was just my female relationships, but it's definitely my male relationships as well, because I tend to be a mother towards males and females, and males and females tend to be children towards me because I have trained myself and them to treat me in a particular way. Just like I have, just like my mother trained me to approach her in a certain way, and as an adult, I've trained her to approach me in a certain way, if that makes sense. Even as a child, I set up the standards that, okay, well, if that's how you want to treat me, I'll let you treat me like that. When, even as I was getting as an older teenager, I could have stepped up a little bit and really spoke my mind. But of course, it's all a process as well. So where do you really go from that? I think it really stems down for me is something I noticed when I was speaking to my mother, is that we both have this issue with being able to say no, for one thing, having insecurities and projecting those insecurities onto other people. And thirdly, is that we don't make time for ourselves. And I think in the past what I've learned from myself and experiencing it from watching my mother do this too, is that we get frustrated that we don't make time for ourselves, but we don't actually make time for ourselves anyway because we don't know how to make time for ourselves right now. And it sounds really weird, and it's not an excuse. How do I say this? Okay. Without being victim-y, I'm just gonna say it. Like, really, I personally have put others first all the time, all the time. I've chosen to do that. I chose to do that. Like my mother chose to do that too, because it was what she felt was best at the time. And I've always done this too. I felt like it was what I needed to do at the time. In retrospect, I get frustrated because sometimes I don't feel into it. Sometimes I just impulsively say yes. Sometimes I take on other people's problems. I've never put myself completely first. I've never put myself first like that ever. Ever, ever, ever. I'm always waiting for someone to need me. And that's partly because I feel like I'm needed, or I need to be needed to be validated as a person. And I feel like I've learnt that from my mother as well. She does very similar things, and I really respect that she's learning in herself at the age of 60 to recognize when she does these things and start to slowly step up, because in her experience, she has that sort of relationship with her mother as well, where her mother didn't step up either, and I don't think she's ever going to, but that does not mean that we can't step up and be authentic and be real and feel everything. So that is my message. I hope I made some sense. I probably have a lot more to say on the topic, but yeah, just love your mothers, embrace them, embrace the mother in you too, because ideally at this, once you reach a certain age, really when you're about 18, to be honest, it's time to start mothering yourself. You don't need your mum. You really don't need your mother to mother you. You need to mother yourself. And it's true. But that doesn't mean that you can't lean on them for support or feel their love. That's kind of not what I'm saying. I'm also saying, seek that what you need from them from yourself first. Give it to yourself. If you need to love yourself before other people can love you. You need to give yourself the space and time to do you before you can give to other people, which is something that I do think that generations before us either neglected because they chose to neglect it. Well, they did. They just chose to neglect it for whatever reason that was, because they had kids or family, or they didn't have the support network, or they didn't know what to do or how to go about doing it. Whatever choice that they made, it is what it is. And I think we're really lucky in this day and this energy and this paradigm and this era to be able to have the full spectrum of support, not only from a spiritual and physical sense and mental sense, but every sense. We have that feedback now. We are so lucky to be able to express ourselves the way that we need to express and understand where the energy is and work on ourselves. We have this power to work on ourselves, whether we're 16 or 60, whether we're 20 or 80. It doesn't matter. We have the power to work on ourselves. So I let go. I let go of that energy today, and I'm not giving it a time frame. I'm not going to push myself to feel or process or do anything in a set period of time. I'm just going to acknowledge that, I was born and my mother loved me and she did what she could. And I, as an adult, do what I can. And I make the choices for my life. Whether they're bad or good, whether they turn out to be what I want or don't want, I make the choices of my life, and I am responsible for me and my power. And I am responsible for mothering the child within me, and I am also responsible for the child loving the mother within me too. So, yeah. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is just me putting myself out there, and I hope you like it. If you do, make sure to comment below. Yeah. Thank you guys for watching. Bye. Oh no, my recorder.